You know, I can go on for hours about all the lawsuits that I've had. 44 election laws all the way to the 9th Circuit. I'm arguing all this because it was, as a young 20-something-year-old, Donna and I had just had our 4th child. We knew that what was going on in this country was bad. What was the #1 issue in '88? You guys remember? Dukakis, you know, going around his little helmet and the, you know, the tank, and, you know, Bush and everything. #1 issue, flag burning amendment. You guys remember that? Flag burning amendment.
And Willie Horton.
Willie Horton. Dukakis had let somebody out early in Massachusetts. What are you from, Massachusetts, Boston or something?
Yes.
Let somebody out and then they killed somebody. Crime, crime, crime. We need to be tough on crime. At the time, it was just flag burning amendment, and I'm just going, wow, the economy was having problems. The S&L scandal was going on. We still hadn't really, you know, we had Black Monday, this, you know, all kinds of stuff was going on. And I'm just going, this is it? Seriously? So I started, you know, looking. My father had a manufacturing company, you know, made touring motorcycle trailers and all this kind of stuff. And I started pulling on a thread, a commerce thread. And I started to realize what government was. They passed a law called the Omnibus Trade Competitiveness Act. It was the New World Order in print. I mean, if you ever read that thing, later, you know, just a few years ago, I was doing a radio show on it. I found that Cato had done a story on this, an essay on the Omnibus Trade Competitiveness Act, and said what it was going to do, and it was way worse than that. But at the time, I could see what was happening. The government that they had promised us in junior high, in 7th to 8th grade is when they do government and social studies. And I always wondered why until, you know, as county chair during the 90s and so on, I get invited to go to a lot of schools. We'd go to an election cycle and it'd be the Republicans and Democrats. Then the next year they'd invite just the Libertarians because the Republicans and Democrats, the kids knew they were boring or lying. You know, so as time would go on, it would always, we had this freaking tour, man. It was Libertarians were going to have guys come Brophy Prep, all boys school, must be tough to keep your cool. Anyway, they were a private school that had, it was all boys, and they were, you know, the elite's children. Well, right next to them was Xavier, which was a girls' school. Well, that's a Jesuit school. They would have us come every year in September for a week. We do monetary policy. Oh my goodness, talking about the Fed. This is in the 90s. We'd be a whole day just on the justice system. You know, a whole day on the political system and laws and so on. When you're dealing with young people, you cannot lie to them. And by the mid-90s, they were already starting to do, you know, email lists and groups and so on. They're just starting to plug in this internet. We saw what was coming. In fact, Freedom's Phoenix was born in 96, 95, 96. We understood what was going to happen. When individuals could communicate with other minds instantaneously without a filter, what kind of power is that? What happens when you take away, you know, the bullet points, the rip and read of, you know, Fox News and MSNBC and CNN and the newspapers and Associated Press and all? What happens when the entire planet is a reporter in every individual? And what comes to the top is what's the most popular, determined by the people that read it. Then what? Where's the centralization of power then? Well, we knew this talking to the young people. And I'll tell you what I learned. You have elementary, it gets, you know, kindergarten through 4. Usually you're in, you know, 3rd to 5th grade or something. They'll do some, you know, have politic day, and you'll go in and do your thing, and you got to entertain them. Junior high, high school. They're all different. You know, you can still, you know, give them some kind of word pictures, and you can get them entertained and so on, but it was junior high. I realized that by the end of the 45, 50 minutes of a class, and I could see the clock ticking. I get like 2 minutes, I could get them chanting freedom as the bell rings and they're getting out and going into the hall. Freedom, freedom, freedom. How do you do that? The reason is because to the point that, you know, after lunch you're having the art teacher coming in with their video camera stomping in, getting all mad, and going to get me, you know, kind of thing. And this is why. In junior high, just when you're starting to become of age, just when you're starting to reach puberty, just when you're starting to question authority. And man, who are they questioning? Man, any authority. I mean, they're just, you know, so that's the age that they have junior high. They set you aside, and that's when they start putting in social studies and government studies and economics and so on. They want to get you corralled, your brain kind of oriented inside, you know, whatever problem you have, government is a solution. There's some, you're supposed to run for office, you're supposed to get a bill. I'm a bill, I'm just a bill. I mean, you know, this is what they're doing in your head. I could see the reason why. Because they were so rebellious. If you start them off on the proper role of government, you have, you know, life, liberty, and property. I use my liberty to sustain my life, to defend my life, to produce shelter and food and clothing, to sustain my life, protect it, and that's my property, life, liberty, property, three ways of saying the same thing. You know, it's yours, you know, there's no problem with you having ownership of what's yours and you do this kind of stuff. By the time you get to the end of the class, you're talking to them basic things like, what? It's your property. Who has access to your property? You go things like, who has a bicycle? Who earned money to get their own bicycle? Who mowed lawns? Who babysat? Your bicycle, you paid for it, your bicycle. Yep, get guy in the back. Okay, well, you ride it 24/7? Are you always on your, no, anybody not have a bike? You don't have a bicycle? We're going to take a vote to take his bicycle and let you use it when he's not using it. Right? And they're like, well, they're kind of, you know, oriented that way. But if you build them up over a period of 40, 45 minutes, they're kind of like, hey man, that's my bike. You know, it's mine. I did it. It's my property. It's mine, freaking mine. Back when I was 4 years old, I used to say mine. You know what? I'm remembering those days. It's mine. Okay? But we took a vote. Let's take a vote. When you start getting them to understand that property rights, individual rights, the purpose of government is to protect those rights. You do not, just because you're not using something that's yours, doesn't mean that somebody else has access to it, or a right to it, or a vote will take it away from you. So then there's going to, so when you start having, you go, well, what do you say when they do that? Well, you know, is that freedom? No. Is this freedom? Freedom's this. Is that freedom? Well, what do you say when you want to do, I want my freedom, freedom, freedom. Oh, freedom, freedom. They're going out the hallway. And I always found that I could only do that, not with the young kids, not with the high school kids, 7th and 8th grade kids. It was amazing to me every single time, 7th and 8th grade, junior high, freedom, freedom, freedom. It was the way they were wired. And it's the reason why the government wants to have them segregated in a different age group, a block, when they're indoctrinating them. One time in high school, there was a kid, new high school out in the West Valley of Arizona. It's a long story, goes through the thing, same thing, but it was with a car. And it's amazing that you get this answer, but what's even more interesting is that it was only one kid. Hopefully it would be more now, as this philosophy has blossomed, certainly with the Levolution and the young people. But I go, you know, well, you don't have it, and we take a vote, and, you know, nope, not doing it. Well, we took you know, the entire school voted unanimously, and we're going, he goes, I got a gun. Oh. Well, you know, the entire planet voted. He goes, well, I'd have to reload. So, the fact that he would even say that, you know, I want to talk to Dad. I mean, that's what's going on right there. You know, I'm like, oh, that's good, that's good, that's good. What kind of influence did that have? Just him saying it on the rest of the kids. So I started, as a young activist, I've been, you know, kind of hardcore already anyway, but I could see it's the new people. It's the ones that make the first step coming over for a reason. They're coming over because they don't see anything over here, they're dissatisfied. They don't understand, you know, what even the goal is of the other parties. They don't understand how it benefits their life. They're looking for the truth.